Hi, hello everyone. My name is Precious Ajoonu, and I am thrilled to be here. I'm sure we've been having a good time so far. I'm going to be talking about self-awareness and personal effectiveness. Do join in and do well to get a notepad, ask as many questions as possible, and I will be more than happy to answer them as soon as I'm done sharing my slides. So let the fun learning times begin. I'm going to share my screen as soon as you can see it. Be kind enough to holler at me and let me know. Okay, so I would imagine everyone can see my screen, self-awareness and personal effectiveness. All righty. Okay, great. My name again is Precious Ajoonu. I'm Head Youth Engagement and Learning at Jobberman, Nigeria. We're going to start off by talking about self-awareness. Some people say that this is a buzzword, right? Most people say, I'm taking time out to take care of myself, to spend time with myself, a lot of talk around self-awareness. What is self-awareness and why should you care, for example? Some of the objectives of this learning experience today is to, of course, discuss self-awareness, get you to reflect on, not answer, but reflect on the who am I question, integrate your personal and your professional goals, and of course, networking. How can you connect to win? Remember, it's not who you know, but who knows you. So it's not how many people you know, how many complimentary cards are in your wallet, but who has your number in their phones? So let's go. I'm going to start off by talking about self-awareness. What is it? And then, of course, answering the who am I question. And then we'll talk about the future of employment in Nigeria, employability skills and the future of work. And then finally, we will talk about networking, how to network to build your personal and professional brand. So before I start any training, it's so important for me to set expectations. So I would encourage you to set expectations. Just write down one thing that you hope to gain in your 30 minutes with me. You could be doing anything else in this career fair, but here you are. So write down one thing that you hope to get out of this time together. So what is self-awareness? Very interesting picture. There is a cat looking at the mirror, and what he sees is a lion, right? So that's a cat, and what he sees is a lion. Before this session, I just saw a David Hoffman video on perception and reality and how what we see might not be what it is. So a simple example of that is if you want to buy a car, assuming you want to buy a Range Rover car, for example, the minute you decide in your heart that you want to get that range, every time you drive in Lagos, Kano, Kaduna, wherever it is that you're joining us from, you will see a range, right? Because that's what you want to see. So what's self-awareness? What do you see when you look in the mirror? What do I see when I look in the mirror? Self-awareness can be defined as conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. How well Precious knows herself, right? You know how you can be a mom, for those of us who have children, and they tell you one of your kids did this or the other child did this. You can tell which child did what, right? Because you know them, because you have an awareness of how their personality shows up in the world. So the three states of awareness, there is internal self-awareness, all the introverts in the house, gather around, let's take a selfie together. Yeah, so there's the internal self-awareness, people who are internally aware, you know who you are on the inside, you spend a lot of time contemplating internally, and then you're able to hear yourself and show up in the world, internally. And then, of course, there is external self-awareness, and these are typically the life of the party, the extroverts, the I am here, notice me kind of people. And, they're out there many times with people who are externally aware. We assume that they are very self-aware. We assume that when someone projects that level of external awareness, it must mean that they have self-mastery. It's not always the case. Where you want to be is at the middle. So you want to be internally aware and externally aware. So you don't want to just be internally aware or externally aware. You want a balance, right? Life exists in the in between, the balance between internal and external. And this is one question, if you're not already asking, you would have asked yourself, or you will ask yourself at some point in your life, whether you have a job, whether you don't have a job, whether you're married, whether you're single. There will come a day where you would look yourself in the mirror, maybe not as dramatic, but there will come a day where you ask yourself, who am I? Who am I, right? Who am I? Why am I here? Who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose beyond consuming, beyond producing? What's my purpose? Who am I and why am I here? So what are some of the barriers to self-awareness? What are some of the things that keep us from knowing ourselves? The first one is limiting beliefs. Remember, the map is not all that there is. Many of us have had very interesting childhoods. We've learned a lot of limiting beliefs. So for example, things like, you have to do something really bad to get money. So some of us are blocking our financial prosperity just because, if I have to have integrity, in Nigeria, you can't make money, the right way. So stuff like that. So what are your limiting beliefs? What are the things that are holding you back? I need you to reflect on them. And then confirmation bias. So sometimes we come into conversations or even to this career fair. So for some people, it's, oh, there's a virtual career fair. I don't think a virtual career fair would be like if we're doing it offline. So you already come feeling defeated. And then when you come, of course, naturally, it will be you who's connection will start to trip off and all the things that are happening. And then you're like, yes, I said it. You can't organize these things and do it properly in Nigeria, but hey, you never heard of Jobberman, did you? So unwillingness to receive feedback. So some of us are unwilling to get feedback. We feel like feedback is an affront. Somebody's trying to attack me, somebody's trying to attack my person, and then you don't want to get feedback. And then of course there's self-judgment and then judging others. Guys, the more you judge other people, the more the finger goes back to you. So if you're pointing one finger at other people, the remaining four comes back to you. So if you spend your time judging other people, it comes from a deep place of insecurity in yourself. Because if you're insecure, a happy mind will spread the happiness in the world. A sad mind will look for chaos in the world. So it's very important when we're judging other people and when we're judging ourselves too harshly to pay attention. So a very simple exercise that you can do now or later. Write down one of your own barriers to self-awareness. So I've mentioned a few things in the previous slide, in this slide, and then you're thinking, Precious, you did not cover mine. I have some really, really thick stuff going on and you haven't touched on. Please feel free to write your own barriers so that you can transcend it. So reflect on it and then seek to replace it with a powerful, limitless belief. Listen, we are all very powerful beings. We're all very powerful people, whether you have a job, whether you don't have a job. You're all very powerful beings, and we have all the authority over ourselves and our subconscious minds. So if you were to choose today to replace a limiting, even if a simple limiting belief as there's nobody in your family that can work in a multinational. For some people, that's the belief. Some of us will never apply to a multinational because me, this village girl from Guneki, who in my village has worked for Shell. So why would I think, who am I to think that, I'm going to work for Shell? Or who in my village has worked for Jobberman, for example? And then who am I to assume that I can work for Jobberman? Who am I not to, right? So I need us to start to replace those beliefs with something that is powerful, empowering, and then something that you can run with. All right, so somebody might be asking, Precious, how do I become self-aware? How do I become self-aware? Socrates says that the unexamined life is not worth living. The unexamined life is not worth living. So if you're not reflecting, if you're just living your life, you're not getting feedback from anybody. And then when I talk about feedback, it's so important for you to travel away from home if you want to get feedback. So for some of us, we are from families where, feedback, people don't give you honest feedback. Everybody is hailing you in your house. It's always somebody else's problem. But yes, 1 year is going by, 2 years, and you're not growing, you're not expanding, you're remaining in the same place. Or your friends, yes, it's good to have supportive friends, but it's even better to have friends who can give you honest feedback, because that's how you grow. A friend who can look at you and say, you know what, I love you, but I think you put on too much weight. There's a lot of power in that if you have good rapport. Or I love you, but I feel like, Precious, you didn't handle this properly. I feel like you're bigger than that. You need those sort of connections in your life. So examine your life, journal your awareness. So for example, like me, yay, I'm going to show you. I have this one. I have another journal that I got from Jobberman. Yay. So yeah, so that's me journaling my awareness. So every day, write a story, write your story, write about your day, write about your hopes, your aspirations, what made you happy today, what made you sad. So for example, October starts tomorrow, and this is me journaling October. This is me saying, this is how I want October to go, and I'm writing it down. So listen to your innermost, listen to yourself. What is Precious saying internally? Guys, listen, there's no external force that can break somebody who is fortified internally. So the whole work must happen within. Practice mindfulness, get feedback. Guys, feedback is important. If you are surrounded by people that cannot give you honest feedback, or you don't trust their feedback, you need a new crowd. You need a new group of friends, right? Or a new partner, or a new company to work for, because you need feedback to grow. And then pay attention to your triggers. So when people give you feedback and you are triggered, right? Pay attention to why you are triggered. Many times it's about us, it's never about anybody else. So why am I triggered? So somebody said something to me, or somebody said, oh, Precious, you're not smart. And all of a sudden, I have to start proving that I'm smart. So it means that I genuinely, subconsciously believe that I'm not as smart as I am projecting, right? So pay attention to your innermost. And then avoid digital distractions. I know we all have such a thing called phones, and we are, live on social media, but please avoid digital distractions so that you can become even more mindful. Okay, so what is the future of employment in Nigeria? If you're not living under a rock, guys, we're living through one of the most unprecedented times in human history, right? We're wearing such a thing called the mask. Some of us are still working from home, myself included. So these are unprecedented times. What does this mean for you, and how can you position yourself to reap from the many opportunities that still exist even in times of crisis? So what's the future of employment in Nigeria? We are finding out that credentials are no longer as useful as they once was. Shout out to Jobberman and all my colleagues, but I don't recall HR asking for proof of my certificates. What if that master's from Aberdeen was something that I just couldn't have? No, but I'm sure they know I would never do that. But my point is, there's less emphasis on certificates. People want to see what you can do. What skill sets do you have, right? We're seeing more and more graduates who are unemployed. And then, shocker, shocker, there's some people who are not even graduates who are doing so well in this time. So there needs to be a mindset shift for you, for me, for all of us, for Nigeria especially, where we start to focus on skills. The market is forcing us to think this way, and this is where we are going. So we must address three issues around growing, of course, growing youth unemployment. We do know, as head youth engagement and learning, I know for a fact that we have an unemployment crisis in Nigeria, right? The widening skills gap, a lot of employers coming back to with feedback to the likes of Jobberman, saying that many of our young people are not employable. And then, of course, our outdated, if you like, educational system. Yes, it's 2020. We need to really upgrade the way that we're receiving learning and what we're teaching from primary school all the way up to our universities. So the future of employment in Nigeria is centered around skills acquisition. So the question for you is, what should I do? Should I upskill? Should I reskill, or both? Let me explain what I mean. Upskill might mean I did my master's in 2009. That's almost over 10 years from now. Even though I did make a first class, I cannot assume that I still know what I know when you talk about management, innovation, and change. Reason why every single month I'm doing a training. I am upskilling myself so that I stay what? Relevant. So that I stay relevant, right? There's upskill. And then of course there is the reskilling. So for some of us who finish school and we can't find employment, you've studied something that the market is not accepting. Perhaps you studied how to, use typewriters, just an example, right? And it's become obsolete. No fault of yours, just because of the way the market has gone. So instead of sitting down and wishing for the good old days where we just had good old typewriters, this might be the time to reskill, right? It might be the time you're saying, oh, there's a lot of action in the agri-tech space. Maybe I need to go and learn poultry farming. Maybe I need to go and learn catfish farming. Maybe I need to learn cake making. Maybe I need to learn this. So beyond saying, oh, if I don't get a job, and then you've been applying, what do I need to do? Maybe I need to go and learn how to code. Maybe I need to learn programming, right? Maybe I need to find out what's happening with the conversations around Internet of Things or artificial intelligence. So what do you need to do? I can't answer that question. Like I say, for myself, I am upskilling and in some cases, reskilling. So what do you need to do in your own reality? All right, so finally is networking. So what are some of the employability skills that you need to try in the future of work? So we talked about how credentials are no longer important, but even more than that are some of the skills that, thanks to credit to LinkedIn research here, that you need. Number one, soft skills, right? Things around creativity, agility, resilience. These are things that you need to navigate these murky waters that we find ourselves in. And of course, if you're here, you already know that Jobberman is offering free soft skills training. So do make yourself available to take advantage of that opportunity. And of course, in the hard skill space, it's things around blockchain, cloud computing, analytical reasoning, artificial intelligence, UX design, business analysis, sales, of course. A lot of companies are closing down, so people are looking for sales magicians, right? People that can come in. How about your next job interview? You go there, you look at the books, and then say, even if it's some high-level feedback, this is how I can grow your revenue from X to this. Most HRs will listen to you as opposed to, I'm coming here just to earn salary. So what value do you bring to the table? What kind of value do you bring to the table? And then, of course, scientific computing, video production, etc. All right, so finally, we're going to talk about networking and how you can build your professional brand. This is also so important. So what is networking and why should you care? All the jobs I've gotten in the past 12 years, so I've had a 12 years career so far, I have gotten them on a platform called LinkedIn, right? I have a colleague that all the jobs, one of the organizers of this fair, Sosa, all the jobs she's gotten since she left school has been on Jobberman, right? So if you're looking for a job, if you're looking for opportunities, you're not on Jobberman, you're not on these networking sites where you can get, closer to these opportunities, then you're doing something wrong. So you need to be deliberate about how you network, especially your digital footprints. I do know, thanks to social media, that something just ended in Nigeria where somebody won. For those of you who followed it closely, you would know what I'm talking about. And some of us get so caught up in the moment that we want to give a savage response. There's something about those likes that you get on online that does, that does something for your adrenaline levels, right? Or people engage with me, in the comment section. It's really, really nice. But you have to be really careful, because sometimes the opportunity costs for that savage reply that you're giving might be a reputable job that you would lose. So you need to pay attention to your digital footprint. When you Google your name, what comes up? When you Google Precious Ajoonu, what comes up? Is the first thing something that I posted in some gossip sites, or is it that I am, Africa's #1 soft skills trainer, right? So what comes up when you Google your name? Very important. Your Facebook, your Instagram, all your social media platforms, you have to be mindful, because many of us, when we're on LinkedIn or we're on Jobberman, we are so righteous, a different person. And then when we are on, other social media platforms, we become something else. But what they say is true. The internet never forgets, never forgets. So please be mindful of your digital footprint. You don't want some savage reply or some content that you put up online to be the reason why you don't get the job that you deserve, or the opportunity, as it were. So who are you online? Who are you offline? Build content that attracts the right kind of audience to your space. So many times, sometimes I don't know what's happening in terms of the kind of content that I don't want. The people that I follow on social media, the people that I connect with, are people who share the kind of wholesome content that I want to see in my space, right? So you need to be very mindful of the kind of content that you put out. From your post, I can know the kind of person that you are. Yes. From your post, I can know you. So if you are constantly putting out content that are not wholesome, even people that want to connect with you would become very wary. So please be mindful. And then, of course, be open to connecting with people. Some of us are so close, and you never know where your opportunity is going to come from. Guys, there are so many people who will be getting jobs today. There's so many people who will get jobs just from conversations from somebody on the street, on Jobberman, in the churches, in the mosque, wherever. But if you're not open, if you're not willing to connect to somebody else, how are you going to know that such an opportunity exists? Attend events both online and offline, but be strategic, right? There's so many events happening right now, and there's a reason you chose the Virtual Career Fair, because of course you knew that we're going to be bringing value. So you want to be picky or choosy about the kind of events that you attend, not all. So attend events, be strategic, have an event plan. Don't just go for an event. So I'm going for this event. What do I want to get out of it? What do I want to get out of it? So you position yourself appropriately. And then remember, visibility is key. So ask questions. I've seen somebody get a contract at an event that I went for just because he asked the right kind of question. Everybody was like, wow, who is that mind, right? Who is that mind that can conceive a thing like that? And then, of course, everybody wanted his card, everybody wanted to know who he was, etc. So ask questions online. When you follow influencers, ask questions, ask intelligent questions. The kind of, don't just be a yes, everything they put, yours is yes, oh wow, you're doing great, oh bravo. Ask questions, stimulate their mind, be unforgettable, be the kind of person who walks into a room and people will not forget you, of course, for good reasons. And then it's not about who you know, but who knows you. I've seen people go for networking events and then they're just scrambling to get cards. You collect all these cards without striking a conversation. When you call, they're going to ask, how did you get my number? And that's it. And then you're going to start explaining. And then you start relying on luck. If you're lucky, the person does not have boundaries, because that's one of the only reasons why you pick a call from just anybody, because you have poor boundaries. So if there are poor boundaries, they'll be like, oh, okay, and then they're ready for chat. But like most people who have boundaries, they're going to ask, how did you get my number? Did I ask you to call me, etc.? And then it just goes back from there. So it's very helpful for you to connect with people. Be strategic. As you're in this event, there's so much going on. What is important to my 5-year career goal? What is important to my 10-year plan? What do I need to know? What should I connect with? And then focus on that, as opposed to I have to be everywhere, and then at the end of the day, you're not getting the kind of value that you hope for. So yes, you have to be very intentional about about building your personal brand and connecting with those who exist to take you higher. There are people who exist to be your sponsors, if it's within an organization, the people who exist to be your mentors, role models, people who can take you from where you are now to where you want to be, right? So you need to be intentional about your brand, because if somebody is going to sponsor you, there needs to be that sort of connection. If somebody wants to mentor you, there needs to be connection. If somebody is your role model, there is some connection. So you need to be intentional. You need to have clarity. You need to have focus as to this is my niche. This is what I want to master. This is the skill set I have upskilled. I have reskilled. This is how I'm showing up. I am a human resource guru, for example. I am a software developer. So therefore, I connect with other people who are in my industry. You need to have clarity about that. Okay, so in summary, what have we talked about in 30 minutes? The first thing we talked about was how important self-awareness is. If you don't know who you are, you fall for anything, right? Whatever is raining, oh, it's blockchain, I have to go do blockchain. Oh, it's sales, I have to go and read sales. It's almost like being a chameleon, and it's very confusing for people because I cannot say who this person is. So self-awareness is also confusing for you yourself, right? Because you need to be able to, it reduces the possibilities of cognitive dissonance and things like that. So being self-aware also boosts your relationships, because that way you're able to attract the kind of people who are happy to be in your company. The job market is putting skills over credentials. Some of us are still so certificate focused, right? I'm so certificate focused. I've seen people who did not have first classes who are doing way better than people with the first class. And so this is not me saying, don't study hard, please study hard, right? However, I'm saying pay more emphasis rather on the learning as opposed to I just want to grab a certificate. And then of course, some of us might need to upskill or reskill or do both, right? Upskill, reskill, or do both. There's no such thing as I'm too old to learn something new. The science, the neuroplasticity science says that our brain can take anything at any age, right? So science is not on your side if you say, oh, you know what, I'm so old, I can't learn anything new. It's not science, it's a limiting belief, right? So you can learn something new. And then of course, networking is important, very, very important. Your friends, so your social networks, your neighbors, everybody, these are connections that you potentially have. So it's so important. Your former work colleagues, those of us when we're leaving a company, we sign out angrily. I've come for this virtual career fair. I'm going to be done with that company. Don't do that. Don't be that person. Life is too short. You need everybody. You need people rooting for you. You need your sponsors. You need your role models. You need your mentors, and just all these people. You need your peers also who are cheering you on as as you move up the career ladder, or even in your professional life, if you're a CEO or if you're building your own business, right? So it's very helpful for us to build our personal brands and be mindful also of our digital footprints, how we show up online. It's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. So think about that. Who knows you? All right, so I want us to reflect after this. You remember I spoke about journaling, etc. It will be very helpful for you to do some reflections. Think about it. Where do you want your career in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? How do you want to show up in the world? What are your personal goals? What are your professional goals? Just spend some time thinking about them. And then finally, nothing works until you take action. Nothing works until you take action. So think about this. What will you stop doing today? So we've said a whole lot of things in 30 minutes. What would I stop doing today? What's not serving me? What do I need to drop so that I can move higher? What would I continue to do? So you're listening to me and thinking, oh, check. I know that. Good for you. What would you continue to do? Because practice does make what? For excellent behavior. So yes, what would you continue to do? And then what would you start doing? So somebody might be saying, good idea on journaling, Precious, I'm going to start. Or good idea on networking, I'm not just going to be by myself, I'm going to now seek connection. So what would you stop doing, continue to do, and of course, what would you start doing? This is how we take action, and it's positive, incremental action that make you look like an overnight success. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Thank you for your time.